Hey, sorry for the change of chats. I guess you can't make video stream like with a event and then change it on the go. So it will take me a sec. Let me erase the old one. Okay, it's gone on its own. Well, hey, welcome to this new experiment, I guess, on YouTube. And what I'm going to be doing are live events once a week where you will be able to ask me questions live, and I'll try to answer with my best knowledge. It's going to be what I called an analog, how do you say, analog hotline is what I wanted to call it. So yeah, that's what it's going to be. It's going to be once a week at 9 Spanish time, which depending on where you are, it's right now. So if you're in the States, it'll be like 4 or 3 o'clock. If you're in Europe, it's 9 o'clock at night PM. And yeah, basically that. You guys ask me whatever you want to know, and I will try to help. There's other channels that have been doing live streams and interviewing other people and things like that. But what I want to do is make it towards the viewer, so you guys can ask instead of going to forums or maybe researching online. You can just ask me something you think I might know, and I'll try to do my best to answer. Also, things that come out in this these little videos will be going live, or I'll make videos like proper ones, not like SD quality, but proper videos for the normal channel. So yeah, someone, for example, asked me the other day what was the difference between the Mamiya RZ and the Hasselblad 500 CM. And I kind of told them a bit on the comments, but I always feel like a live or a real video helps. So these are Hasselblad 501C and a Mamiya RZ. You can see the size difference is pretty big. It's pretty much like the RZ looks like like the mom of the Hasselblad. But yeah, basically there's main differences are, for example, hi from Paris. This lens you focus with this ring on the front. On the Mamiya, you focus with a knob, and it has bellows. Sorry, it's blocked. So you can focus with the bellows. This is 6x7 or smaller. You can do 6x6 to 645. This is 6x6 or 6x45. Both have a SLR kind of image. Then you can use prisms on both. This one has a max speed of 1/400th. This uses batteries, and this is fully mechanical. So that's another thing. And yeah, basically that. The weight is a huge deal. I actually opened a tab so you guys could see the difference. The Hasselblad weighs exactly, I think it's like a kilo and a little bit. Funny thing, Camerapedia doesn't have the weight easily accessible. Sometimes I wish websites. But the Mamiya is heavy. I mean, it's like 3 kilos or maybe a little more. Again, not easy to read how much they weigh. I can tell you there's a big difference between both of them. But yeah, basically that. You guys can ask me whatever you want. I'll be online at 9 o'clock every week. And I will start with a friend that asked me, well, Hogarth Ferguson, which is the first guy to comment here, who asked me about the difference in grains, as he doesn't understand, or maybe has read about it but hasn't you know, totally acknowledged what it means. And back in the day, you used to have what was the only grain, which was the classic grain, which is just like a random silver on your film. It's all just spread out randomly, like chemistry just goes all around. I'm explaining it terrible. I probably will research this and make a video out of it. And the T grain is something, it's a bit more structured. It's finer grain. It looks sharper. So those are, for example, T-Max 100, T-Max 400, Fuji Acros 100, the Fuji Neopan 400, which was like the Acros, but like it was 400 speed, Ilford Delta and stuff like that. So yeah, those are the T grain films. They are yeah, basically thinner and smoother, easier to scan, they say. I actually don't really enjoy those films, but some people really like them. They have a very smooth curve to this, you know, from white to black, all those little shades of gray in there. So yeah, I'll research, I'll try to answer with a bigger or a better answer in a week. And yeah, you also guys can leave a comment below, and I'll read the comments and make answers from there on. Now I'm reading, Hogarth asked, do you know how much about the different models of the Hasselblads, the 500, 501, 503, 2000, 203, 2000, 205, and so forth. Yeah, I started off in medium format with the Hasselblads, so that's what I read about a lot. I bought a book that I recommended, which is the Hasselblad Guide. I had it on a video posted, which was like the cheapest Hasselblad to buy, because I think, yeah, that was important to make. So I'll leave the link below. But yeah, the Hasselblads have two lines, well, three lines of the old school cameras, or I guess you can say four lines of film cameras. You had the first version, which was the 1600 Hasselblad. Those were mounted with Ektar lens from Kodak, as Hasselblad hadn't talked with, I guess, or agreed with Carl Zeiss to make their lenses. And those were the first version of the Hasselblad. Has the same kind of shape, but the lens is like silver, looks kind of old. The backs are different too. It's not compatible with the normal modern Hasselblads. So that's the first lineup. And then they came out with the V version, or the V series, which is this one. It's the most famous one, the 500CM. Well, 500C was the first one, non-interchangeable focusing screen. Everything else is pretty much the same camera. Then they came out with the 500CM, and some of the Cs have an interchangeable focusing screen. And that just came out with that. And the lenses were the C and then the CT, which meant they were coated. If you don't know what that means, it's this little T. The webcam probably can't show, but there's a little red T on the top here. And that means they were coated. So that's what they started coming out with. And then the CF and then the CFI were the most modern. And then these were all basically cameras that use the shutter in the lens. So it's a leaf shutter, okay? Max speed was 1/500th of a second. So the 500, 501, 503, and so forth are all leaf shutter. So you can use these lenses, which shoot. And there's a little curtain on the back, basically, but it's not for exposure. It's basically to not fog the film, as you can see here. Oh, I need to put it on bulb. So let me put it on bulb. You see, you probably can see me somehow in there. So yeah, that's what you were shooting. And these were the 500 models. And then I guess they needed, or they were asked to make a faster shutter, because 1/500th of a second, depending on what you're shooting, is not too fast. And they came out with a 2000F or 2000FC. And those don't use these lenses. You can actually use some of these lenses for those cameras. They have like green setting. On the CF, you can see it, but you can use these lenses, but they come with their own lenses. They're actually more, how do you say it? They bring in more light. They're more, they're all f2.8 pretty much. The 50 is f2.8. They have a 110 f2, which everyone talks about. And they have a 80 2.8. They have like 150 2.8, I think. And other lenses, they have more light coming through. And they have the shutter on the back. So you could shoot up to, and this is, I'm kind of trying to remember and guesstimating. I think it's 1/2000th of a second is the max speed. So yeah, you could shoot things that were faster, but you wouldn't be able to flash sync all the way to 1/2000th. As you know, the cloth shutter won't work with flashes at that speed, but you will be able to work at 1/500th of a second on leaf shutters. So these will sync at all speeds with a flash. And those are basically the differences. And they say let's say, I don't know how they call it, the F line, because there were 2000 FC, 2000 F to 203 and so forth, are not, those lenses are not compatible in the V series, and some have some electronics on them, so people don't usually, you know, value them the same. Also, as it has the shutter in the back, if you kind of touch the back, you will screw it, so you gotta be careful. This, I mean, it's just a little window here. You can push it with your finger, nothing will happen. But yeah, you gotta be careful. But yes, there are differences. And then you also have the wide version, which was the SWC, which I used to have, and the SWCM, and then they came out with a 903, 905. That was a lens attached to a body, you couldn't remove it. So yeah, basically that's what the differences are on the Hasselblads. If you really want to know about it, I can maybe make a video about the different models, but I don't have them all and I haven't had them. So I would kind of be reading and researching to tell you guys. So now we're going to Joff Walker. I'm not personally interested in getting into large format, but I've been considering Fuji GX680. Any thoughts on if that's a good way to learn movements? Okay, Joff, Hogarth actually has been bugging me about the GX680. That's another reason I've been making, I want to make these videos. People write me either personal messages or through Facebook, Instagram, and other mediums. And not that I don't like answering, but I'm really busy. So this will be hopefully a place where we all can kind of chit chat about all these cameras we want to buy or things we're curious about, and I can help you guys directly, and it's easier. So going to the GX680, Joff. If I say your name's wrong, I'm sorry. I'm not doing this purposely. The you know, wrong pronunciation. So the GX680 is an awesome camera. It's amazing tool, but if you think this is big, like the GX680, if you can Google it and look, it's like this much bigger. And the camera is massive. Like you really can't take that out. Like I've taken this out on a walk, no strap, up a mountain, down a mountain, and it's awesome. Hey, negative feedbacks here. I will get a GX680. I have a friend that has a whole setup. Same as Jeff. Okay, so Jeff. I will get a 680 so you guys can see it. It's massive. It's like you can't walk around with it. So if you really want to get into, you don't want to get into large format, but you want to learn movements, I highly recommend you get, for example, there's a Horseman VHR, which is a 6x9. It's like a tiny Graflex. It has all the movements. It's amazing how they packed it. I actually have one back there, but I don't want to kind of leave the screen off without just this awesome painting. So yeah, you can get like a 6x9 little camera. It has the same movements as a Graflex, for example. It will let you shoot 6x9, 6x7, and so forth. They're pretty affordable. They're around like 400 bucks, 500 bucks. I changed it for another camera. Yeah, they have a rangefinder one, which is the Horseman 690. I have it there. I'm just, so yeah, if you want to get into movements and you don't want to touch large format, you could also go, instead of the Horseman, which has roll film, you could go to a Graflex or Intrepid, which are really affordable, which, not that I don't recommend, but I think those cameras don't have like a long lifespan. So I'd be, you know, in doubt of buying a camera from Intrepid, basically because if I buy large format, I'm going in for the long run, not just buying a camera for like a year and then maybe moving to something else. You can buy a Graflex pretty much for that price, and they're really sturdy. They're like 30-year-old bellows are hardcore. So yeah, you can buy like a Graflex or Intrepid, and you can use roll film. So you can get like a roll film back from Horseman. They're really affordable. Like the 6x7 ones are something in like 100 bucks. The 6x9 are like 150, and then you can shoot 6x12, which is amazing, but those are expensive. A back can go up to like 500 bucks. So yeah, if you want to go into movements, but you don't want to go into a sheet film because it's expensive and hard to handle and develop, you can either go with a Horseman, and they also had a Linhof 6x9 cameras. You can just, or even Graphics had a baby. And then you can just, use all those little movements. You'll find out that movements are something that the more subtle you are, the better it will look. So no one grabs a large format camera. At least I think everyone gets it, and the first thing they do, they just move the first as much as they can, and they do a tilt shift and they shoot, and then after 3 tilt shifts shots, you're like, well, that was awesome. I think it's nice, but I won't do it again. So a little bit will do a lot. So just a little movement, and those cameras have these little movements. The front will just like, it will shift, it will like swivel. The back has like bellows, so you can even move it out. You can use large format lenses, or they have their own lenses. They can be used with cams, with rangefinder, and so on. So yeah, the Fuji's cheap, but believe me, like the size of the Fuji compared to the size of the Horseman is half the size. And the Fuji also runs on batteries. Batteries are hard to come by. They don't last very long. I don't say not to go for it, but just like really look a lot into the size and people saying what they say. The lenses are awesome and the system is great, but it's a studio camera. And I shoot 8x10 and 11x14 around. So it's not like something you want to walk around for that 6x8 negative, which isn't that big. So yeah, that's what I would say for someone that wants to try movements and doesn't want to go large format. So yeah, either like a cheap large format and roll film back, or going with that Horseman Linhof Graphics Baby 2x3, 6x9 versions. So yeah, that's there to answer Jeff. I think that's enough. I will try to get that camera so you guys can see it. I'm going maybe in a week around there, so I'll try to catch it and pick it up. It's in Pamplona where the Running of the Bulls is. So yeah, now I'm gonna go to the next question. That was, Hogarth actually suggested the Hasselblad Flex body, and this is a weird camera. If you want to get a Hasselblad Flex body, you really either know what it's about or you really don't, like, haven't understood. The problem with the graphics Flex body, it's like a the Hasselblad Flex body. It uses normal medium format lenses, but it uses like a little body that has like bellows. But the problem is the lenses are not designed to have movements. So you will be stuck to making minimum adjustments. And they're expensive. They're like $1,000 minimum for the camera, plus the lenses. And I find them very limited. So I did have a friend that had one, and he bought it pretty cheap. I think he paid like $1,000. So that's just so you get a reference. And I've seen awesome work from people doing that. So yeah, it's not like the best option to start, I would say, if you want to get movements. But yeah, it's a thing. Okay, so now let's go about the Nico. What do you think of 12x18? I'm guessing you're talking about the 8x10 in the European size. I strongly suggest you go for 8x10. Like European sizes, it's not that they're dead, but they're so hard to find. You'll never find color film. The film holders are cheaper, but at the end you'll be like, I want to go 8x10, and then you'll have to sell it all, and no one wants to buy that. So if you're doing collodion, I'd say yeah, go for it. Just cut it out, cut the film back. I mean the film holder, and use 24x18. But I don't suggest it. I would say go to the full 20x25, which is 8x10. Yeah, you're gonna get a 6 GX680. Well, Hogarth has been saying he's gonna come to Bilbao to hang out with me. So if he comes, I'll get him a GX680 so he can hike with me. So Analog Adventure says, I'm having a hard time with my 6x17 Shenhao because the ground glass is so dark. No way I can compose with tilt shifting focus. Most I do is lift. That's true. You have to be careful with large format depending on what lenses. The wider the aperture is, that's what I wanted to say for the Hasselblad. The more, like, the bigger the lens will be, and usually the most expensive they will be. So usually people are like, oh, I want to get a backpack kit. Like you'll see Ben Horn talking about he's changed his lenses maybe to a 300 f8 or 300 f9, or people like George from Negative Feedback who got a 300 f5.6. He can tell you how big that is. If you want to check it out, you can go to his Instagram. I think he made a story today with a Chamonix 8x10 and the 300. It's massive. So yeah, most people go with small apertures, and that gets real dim, especially if you do movements. If you're having a hard time with your movements on a 6x17, I suggest you to go with a wider aperture lens. A 6x17 is like 5x7, so you got plenty of options at 5.6. So I would recommend that. But yeah, the Fresnels for 6x17 that they're recommending, they're not easy, but you can go, and this is something that's a little not cheeky, but like kind of cheap and not the best solution. You can go to one of those photocopy places and buy a Fresnel. Those they have for like, remember those projectors they would put at school and they had like a little thing? There's Fresnel screens that will have different diameters and they will reflect the light, and you can cut it out yourself. So they're like $2 to $3, so it's worth a try. And I recommend you do something like that before you change the lens, which will cost you, if you're going at 5.6 and wide angle, like around $1,000. So yeah, that's what I would go for if you're shooting 6x17. But the moment you make movements, you will lose the circle, and it's hard to focus on the edges. I find it very hard sometimes on 4x5 with f8 or f6.8 lenses. So let's see who will ask something after that. Okay. So yeah, you've bought a Fresnel for 4x5. Yeah, trying that, yeah, get like a big one and try to cut it out. I don't know if we can add links. Badger Graphic has a 6x17 Shanghai Fresnel. Badger Graphic is an awesome store. So if you guys are into large format, they supply everything. They actually used to supply special orders from Fujifilm back in the day when Fujifilm was into listening to us film shooters. So yeah, that's what I recommend. And as Scene was saying, Canham was selling misprints. I think he finished his those screens. He ran out of them. They misprinted it the other way around. I read it on his Facebook page, but it is a good comment. But I think they're focusing screens. They're not actually Fresnels. So yeah, I would recommend going the cheap way and trying that. Also on eBay, you have Yankee Fresnel. If you go on to there, I think it's this guy called like EC Online. He's a guy called Rudy in China. He makes like everything cheap and large format, so he's a pretty nice guy. And you can check if he has a Yankee Fresnel for 5x7. They're a little bit more expensive, but you can go that way. Okay, next kind of question from the Camo Green. Thinking about buying a Chamonix 4x5. Your thoughts on the F1 vs the H1? Well, this is something I haven't said on my YouTube channel, but I am now in Spain. That's why you'll see a lot of Chamonix stuff, and I'll talk about it. I don't like to talk about what I have business side because this is something I do for fun, so I don't want to push it my way. But if you're asking between the F1 and the H1, I will tell you the main differences because you probably read it online on their website. And basically the F1 is like an N2, but it has the asymmetrical tilt, so it's really easy to use a Schlem. I don't know how to say that word. I don't think anyone can pronounce that. The Schempflung thing. So it really works really nicely, and it folds all the way down, so you can protect your ground glass. You won't have a lens in there. It kind of smalls package, and you put it in your camera bag. But the H1 is a newer camera. It does have the back will shift sideways, which some people think it's important. On the F1, there's ways to trick it. You can move, let's see if you guys could see this. You could move the front and you can move the back, so it kind of looks like you shifted the back. but you can't actually just shift the back sideways. That's basically the main difference. One can shift on the back, one can't. One is foldable, one is not. It's the idea of that you can like pop it out of your bag, it has a handle, and you can put it on your tripod and you can compose fast and shoot. I mean, it's one more step. So I have the F1, I actually have a few of them because I want to start teaching workshops. You actually have a workshop with Dan Rubin in like 2 weeks in Bilbao, which that's going to be fun. But the F1 is like, I think it's a little simpler, and I think that is not a bad thing. You can use that asymmetrical move, and I don't miss having that shift on the back. Plus, even though I love architecture and I shoot, I would love a wide angle thing. Like, you know, it's basically meant to be like a wide angle camera. It's made very similar to an Ebony camera that was like that. They actually had it at Robert White, yeah, in the UK. It was made for them. And it's like set up. You just put it in with a wide angle and you start shooting immediately. But the F1 with back bellows, which are not a lot of pictures online. I will get to that soon. I have a video I have to edit, which I was shooting wide angle with the bellows on the F1. You can put the back bellows and you can shoot like your lens crushing against the ground glass, and you can move it everywhere you want. So I find that one more step of unfolding is not a big deal. So between the F1 and the H1, one's a bit more expensive than the other. I would suggest get the F1, shoot it as much as you want, unless you really want that whole lens in the bag. But then what do? You have the lens on the camera, where you take the back like cap off, and that means when you want to change lenses, you got to find that cap. You're going to lose it. I just think I would mess it up. That's my opinion. I like the whole having my lenses with both caps in the bag. I open it, I'm like, oh, this picture like probably needs like a 90 millimeter or it needs a 72 millimeter. And I pick my lens and put it on. I don't think it's a big importance that non-folding or folding. But yeah, if you really want the shift on the back, you got to go for the H1 unless you want to play the tricks on the F1, which I will show on a video. I'm trying to get an H1. They've been not discontinued, sorry. They've been on back order for a few months. So yeah, that's my opinion on between those two. You also have the N2, which was like almost the first model, which is basically the F1 without the asymmetrical tilt. So you can actually work it around the asymmetrical. You can look online for the View Camera Store. It's Fred Newman has a video talking about how to do the asymmetrical kind of tilting to focus and get like, you know, gain your depth of field. He has a great video. If I ever make a video, I'm just gonna copy his video. So that's just so you guys can go out there and check it out. Fred Newman has a YouTube channel all about large format mostly, and super nice guy. You can write him, he'll answer you. He even has like large format, like a PDF with like basic instructions. So that's pretty interesting if you guys want. I can actually ask him if I can share it. And if he doesn't have it online, I will see if I can share it somewhere so you guys can check it out. I have it somewhere, printed it out. It has like the basic movements and, you know, little tricks and tips for newbies, I guess. So yeah, that's my thoughts between the F1 and H1. I would suggest the F1 or the N2. Save like $100 and buy film or film holders. Haven't been into, Scene says get a Can-Am DLC. That's the one you have from George, if I'm not wrong. Can-Am cameras are awesome. And the best part about Can-Am, I met him at Photokina last year. I made an interview of him, but I screwed up the audio. I'll try to post it. But he's an amazing guy. He has such a passion for what he does. And I thought his brand was cool, and I now think it's so much nicer as I know him in person, you know? So yeah, if you guys like Can-Am and you want to spend the money for a Can-Am, they're not that much pricier than Chamonix. So not that I don't want you to not buy Chamonix, but they're great cameras. And that DLC all metal is amazing. Okay, so haven't been into large format for that long. I think you know knowledge over his lens boards. Which fits with what? What do you think? Okay, so large format is hard because it's kind of like all fits into everything, but not everything will cover everything. It's not like you got a Nikon and you have your Nikon F mount and you just shoot Nikon all day. Or you got a Canon EOS mount and you shoot EOS mount all day. Large format kind of goes all together, you know, it all mixes around. So you guys can check it out. Basically, lens boards are different for every camera, but there's like a few standards. Like Linhof Technica lens board is one of the most common. The CNR lens board is another one that's the most common. And then, for example, the Linhof Technica, you got Nikon make them, Vista made them. Who else? Horseman make them. Like a whole bunch of people made them. So you can buy them. They're pretty small. I actually have another one over there. Sorry, I'm gonna get more stuff on the table. So for these videos, and the difference is the hole. Like you have a lens board that fits your camera, and then the hole will be the shutter for the lens. So you have Copal 0 is small, Copal 1 is a little bigger, and then Copal 3 is huge. Don't know what happened to Copal 2, but I guess something wrong. I know there was a Compur, C-O-M-P-U-R 2, which is pretty strange. A friend has it on a 121 millimeters. And that's the size of the shutter. And the shutter will be depending on the lens and the aperture. So it's a little confusing. There are lenses that you'll be like, oh, I bought a bargain. Like for example, the 100 millimeter range are mostly for 6x9 cameras. So don't bite it and think you're gonna get like a great deal because they won't cover 4x5. And some lenses are like too big for certain cameras. Like the 300 5.6 on a 4x5 is just ridiculous. Like you don't need that. You can get a smaller lens. So yeah, definitely it's not easy to understand. I recommend you read a lot. I will try to make a video on the different lens mounts and the shutters and the lenses and sizes and what are the standards. I made a video about mounting a Copal 3, just so if you want to kind of get a glimpse about it, that will probably be on my YouTube channel. Just write mounting Copal 3 and it'll appear on Google so you can watch it. It's probably not very good, but you guys can get something out of it. So next question was, what do you think about half format, like a Pen F? That's a funny question because I have a Olympus EE, is it EE3? I don't know, yeah, EE3 half frame. I actually want to shoot half frame for as long as I can. Well, not as long as I can. I want to shoot it for a while because I think they're big enough for what I want. That negative printed on paper, because when you print on paper, the quality of the negative doesn't have to be as good as when you scan. Like if you scan, it'll come out grittier, smaller, it's hard. So I want to shoot that half frame. It's 72 shots. I mean, what's not good about that? You can shoot back and forth, go anywhere, shoot as much as you want, and you'll have a great time. And then print it, because I print pretty small. I print on 8x10 paper, and that's the paper, so the image is a little smaller. So yeah, I really like the idea of a Pen F. I've been wanting to buy a Pen F, a proper one with the interchangeable lenses. I mean, the camera's so tiny. It's such a nice machine. It's so pretty. And the system of it's like an SLR, but the mirror doesn't flap vertical. I mean, like that, but like this. So yeah, honestly, if you can get one, I think it'd be awesome. A lot of Japanese photographers shot with half format cameras and have amazing work. So I highly recommend them. I don't think they should be as ashamed or left behind as people do. So yeah, I recommend you guys try it out. I have a few rolls I've shot on that camera, which I have to develop. Just in case you guys are wondering, I have probably like 50 to 60 rolls of backlog of medium format 35 and around like 200 to 300 sheets of large format film in backlog of developing, not even scanning, which I don't like scanning, so I don't do that a lot. But yeah, so yeah, I will get to it and I will make a video about half frame and hopefully you would really enjoy shooting it. So yeah, okay, let's see. Someone says, do these in Spanish from now on and I can learn Spanish. I will maybe make Spanish videos like these, but my how do you say, the public is so much smaller as people in Spain don't shoot so much film, but maybe, you never know. Scene was saying all their lenses seem to have smaller image circles. I used an Anglo 120 and it could barely shift like 2 millimeters. Yeah, all their lenses tended, they used to have smaller circles, like the ones that came with a Graflex. Like I have an Ektar 127 that barely covers, and you got to be careful with those old lenses. I have a 90 millimeters. I don't even know it's a, yeah, Angulon, the one that goes for the travel wide, that barely covers. The 65 Angulon also barely covers. That's an f8. So yeah, got to be careful with what you read. When you find something you think it's a deal, just Google it, type it. There's on the large format forum, you just write 4x5 lenses, and you'll find like a spreadsheet with all the, not all, but a lot of the lenses in the circle. So yeah, go for that when you're in doubt. Or you can ask me in one of these videos. It's kind of what I loved, is large format. So I've been researching a lot. Then negative feedback says the worst part isn't how tricky any of the stuff in large format is, it's how much rubbish all the large format websites are. So much plain text, boring sites and forums. I think that there's a time and a place for all these things. Like these videos we do, me, you, and other people like Ben Horn and all this is awesome. But the way to find out information is so not indexed. So like if you want to find a lens, there won't be a video on a specific lens. If you want to find film format, maybe there'll be a video talking about it, but there'll be like a video that's a bit more broad. So I think forums, like even though the large format forum I think has a ton of information, it does have a lot of people that tend to be a bit more on the grumpy side of life and are, I guess, older maybe. So yeah, you gotta be, you know, I gotta take things with a pinch of salt there. And I don't ask much there because I feel like everyone said everything already. So I do use a lot of the search, George. So yeah, forums there are not very nice, but you do have that index when you search, and that's awesome. I manage forums in Spanish, and I have to say they help a lot, especially making connections, not even like friendships and stuff, but you also make enemies. So it's, you know, a bit of both. That's what I think about that. Black site with yellow text, hardcore 1998. Yeah, same thing with House of Law series, plus the beauty of forums. What I think about the Fuji 100C, I haven't heard anything positive in the last few months. I kind of have made friendships with stores and companies through this YouTube channel, as small as it is. And I know Cat Labs has been very hush-hush about it. I think they are working towards it, but they want to come out with a product. I think they don't want to do an impossible kind of thing, you know, like, we'll make it, whatever cost, not cost, but cost for the customer, you know, prices are high, quality was terrible. I think Cat Labs is gonna either shut up and never do it, or they'll finally make it and they'll be like amazing. It won't be cheap. It will never be as cheap as it was. I kind of find it funny. It used to be like 80 cents a shot. I'm talking dollars now. And I didn't buy it because I just thought, like, why not shoot like a portrait shot or shoot, you know, real film? And now it's like, everyone's like, oh, well, we miss it. And they're paying 24 bucks, 30 bucks for it. So yeah, I hope if they do come with it, it won't be cheap. And I don't think the quality will ever be as good as Fuji made it. Fuji, I don't think will continue making it, sadly. And New 55 had a hint they were going to try to go for color 4x5 peel apart film, and then maybe take it towards pack film. But people have also been kind of like, I think, a little hard on how they've managed to do things. What they've managed to accomplish is amazing, but also is expensive. And the quality is sometimes not as good as you would expect. New 55 compared to old 55, people tend to compare, and comparisons are horrible. But yeah, I think hopefully someone will make it. I mean, if not, I bought 3 405 backs for my large format, and I have the fridge almost full of FP, so I'll be sad if that doesn't come back. That's my opinion. No good news so far. I can say it's like, you know, stable silence, which is not bad either. Yeah, what Ryan Rivers, if someone's gonna pick up the ball in instant film, same thing. And what do I think about wooden tripods? For example, Rise, I think it's Rise, I guess, or Berlebanch, which is a German brand. I think one of the two are much cheaper than the other. Wooden tripods, I think, are awesome. I know people that I love them. You know, they actually have like less vibrations. They're not prone to lightning, which I don't know if in England you guys have lightning, but in Miami, for example, it's horrible. Carbon fiber tripods actually attract lightning. So if you guys ever walk around with a tripod on your backpack or on your shoulder and there's a storm coming up, just drop your tripod, put it under a tree and walk somewhere else. So yeah, wooden tripods I think they're nice and you can refinish them. You know, you can like sand it and varnish it again. I work in a wood factory, so I'm much of a wood guy, even though I'm terrible at doing my own furniture. But I like wood. I would say they're a good investment. I think they last a long time. They look great. They're like timeless pieces. And if you ever stop shooting film, you know, you can make a lamp and put it on the side, like a lot of people have done with the old wooden tripods. So yeah, I think they're good. They're good enough. And those Rise and Berlebat, I'll try to Google that. Berlebat tripods are made in Germany and they're really good. Let's see what it says here. Oh, I think I'm meeting on my internet. So yeah, they're awesome tripods. So yeah, I would check the ones made in Europe so you don't have customs with Rise tripods. So do you think film will stay alive regardless film produces for at least 10 or 20 years? If you guys haven't been looking, Camera Ventures has made a little survey and how do you call it? Yeah, survey and an article about what will happen with film. And I think they're right on certain things. For example, I actually translated the Spanish version if you guys want to check it out, even though most of you don't speak Spanish. It's important that we maintain not the film or paper, that will probably stay along for a long time, but the secondary issues, which is camera being fixed, machines like scanners, like developers at the big stores and stuff like that, those are going to start breaking big time, and there's no repairs. Like Google, like buying a Frontier 3000, like there's nothing out there. Everyone jumps on them as soon as they can. So yeah, I think that's going to be an issue more than film will be around. I think our cameras are not longer being made new, so we have to fix them. I think our machines are not going to be renewed with new pieces. I don't think Kickstarters will solve that in any way unless like someone wants to start making Kickstarters for like pack-on 135 scanners or pack-on 120 scanners and stuff like that. I think that's the worst part of time with what we do. Like a Hasselblad can be fixed so many times, but think about this, like how many Hasselblads are broken into pieces or parts every year that won't be a Hasselblad again and will be into a new one. Like, you know, organ donor. Probably every day or every year, there's what, 100 less Leicas around or 20 less Hasselblads around. So that's going to be the issue, not the film. It's going to be the cameras. You can see the prices are already skyrocketing. The Hasselblads are not so much, but like the Contax T2s, the G2s, all those cameras are going up in price. Scanners and all these things are going crazy. So I think we got to be aware of that. Like film will be around, probably the price increase and all that. But the problem will be, what do we do with our cameras when they break? Where do we scan our images? Because those Epson scanners, I mean, they're okay. But the good scanners, like drum scanners, like all the drum scanners are like at least like, I don't know, 30 years old or 20 years old. So yeah, you've got to be careful with that. So yeah, that's what I think about film will be. There'll be film. I think we got to worry about other things apart from film. There's been like 3-4 film new emotions come out this last 6 months, or at least announced. So yeah, I think that's basically the problem there. So to the next question, I think that's kind of answered. I have to go, but before I go, make sure a video for you to make. It would be explaining color filters in black and white. Not the basics, but more the different shades of red. Yeah, I actually wanted to learn that too, so I might jump onto that one. Yeah, I think filters are very important. As you know, or at least what I tend to say, I might be very wrong, but I think when you take a picture, at least in black and white, you take a picture 3 times. You take it when you shoot it, how you meter, where you meter, what you put in front of your lens. You put a filter, a polarizer, an ND filter, ND, like, you know, those that go like from ND to like no, and that's important. And then when you develop it, depending on how you develop it, if you push it, if you don't push or you pull it, if you agitate more or less, if you cross process, like you're changing the picture. Like that was, it's on the film, but it's going to be totally different to every single thing you can change. So that's important. And then when you put it on paper or you scan it, I guess if you go scanning and you digital manipulate and you change things, or you go under the darkroom, in the darkroom, under the red, the light, and you start dodging and burning and use a developer that's warmer, paper, like, so that filter will change the negative from the very start. So I think they're very important. I actually shoot sometimes with yellow filters, mostly for old lenses that don't have so much contrast, so it kind of gives a bit more punchy look. But I will get into it and I will try. It's just all my lenses are usually big and the filters are extremely expensive. So yeah, I will get into that. I will note it down and try to see what I can find about different black and white filters, not the basics, something more. Maybe I'll do a basics and then another video. Okay. Just Hogarth said that he was a great idea about asking. So yeah, it's 9:50. There's no more questions right now. So I think we made good progress on the first show. I will be back next week at 9 my time. Irradiated lenses that are already slightly yellow. Yeah, if your lenses are a little yellow, you can put them on the sun, like on your window, hitting the sun with no lens caps and open shutter or open aperture. And or you can, there's an IKEA lamp that emits like a good amount of UV light. They're pretty cheap, like 30 bucks, something like that. And you can Google it, just write like yellow lens IKEA lamp and it'll come out. And you just put it under the lamp for like 24 hours or whatever, until you see that yellowing go away. So not that it's the how do you call it? The coating, but yeah, you use sun and lead, nothing? Oh, I've got rid of most of the yellow, but I'm not sure if you can get them 100%. I would just go for more time, check it out. Also, you can read one of those forums. I'm sure someone's had an issue with it, but I'll try to see if I can find out some information. I have a few friends that are mechanics. But yeah, I was just trying to say thank you for you guys' questions. Nice to see you, Ebian. Sorry that you came in a little late. This will be posted on my YouTube channel as a different playlist. It'll be like Analog Hotline or whatever. So you guys can check it out. And do feel free to ask things through the events, and I will read it and get back to it, or have a little list that I'll go through. But yeah, thanks for watching. Let me know if you want to see something different, if the audio was terrible, if these lights I have here were terrible, or anything like that. And I'll try to upgrade for the next video. I know the video quality is horrible. I have a webcam. I'm not going to invest right now into a HD webcam, plus the internet connection might just drop it down to like 720 or 360. So yeah, thanks for watching. See you next week. I will hopefully have a new video of something else this week. And yeah, we'll see you in a week. Thanks. Let's see how I can stop this now. Stop.